Right.
2018, the government shut down, and
Missile threat was imminent last week Saturday. So this is Midcard Mana'o.
the missile threat,
Yeah.
which was real, and somebody who looked similar to us actually blocked it like a superhero.
Yeah.
Is what really happened.
Yeah.
So
That's a
fuck all you heard.
Anyway, like I said, this is our Midcard Mana'o video. Of course, we are the Midcard Mana team. We got over here Sam Kilda, the wrestling connoisseur. We got over here the loose cannon.
The good sister.
I try. Come on. And so this is going to be a little bit of wrestling rambling. Things that we've gathered so far, things that we may have realized about ourselves in this year so far of wrestling. So, first off, let me just say I had a dream.
Oh God.
That was an appropriate reaction.
Preach, Martin Luther.
So I've had two dreams. No, it's not, not inspirational dreams. They're just weird dreams I had. So the first one, I was on the cruise of Jericho, and my cabin mate was
Kenny Omega.
Jimmy Jacobs.
Interesting.
And he helped me to be a beautiful zombie princess. This is literally what happened. He helped
you. And...
He helped to dye my hair.
Huh.
That was actually what happened in my dream.
Isn't Kenny officially on the cruise now?
He is not.
I thought I read he was.
He's all in, but that's for the Cody and Young Bucks show.
Oh.
Yeah.
But Christopher Daniels is going.
Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. Yeah.
Fine gentlemen.
So my other dream was that I went on a date with Kenny Omega, and he got us matching Fitbits. So just trying to say it aloud to will it into being. He got us pink and blue ones.
You got the blue one?
I got the pink one.
Even more of a surprise.
Yeah.
Allison has a wrestling dream sometimes. In the middle of the night, she'll just be like, I want that Big Show to win. Or something to that effect.
She's the best.
Yeah. And,
she's the best child. I don't think I'd ever love any of my children as much as I like Allison. I'm going to be honest.
Anyway. Those parents, huh?
Yeah.
You should be more like her.
You should be more like your cousin Allison.
So. We were just talking earlier. We had a comment.
Yeah, we had a comment on one of our videos. Thank you for anyone who comments. Yeah. I know we had a couple. So the one that we were talking about was someone asking our opinion on Toru Yano and how we feel about him punching people in the dick and running away in championships. And big guy over here made an excellent comparison of Toru Yano in New Japan. Toru Yano is New Japan's
Eddie Guerrero.
Without the sex appeal, though.
And I said, that is your opinion. But I mean, really, he has become that figure for New Japan.
And I mean, he's definitely charming enough that he can get away with that sort of thing and still not be hated. You know what I mean? I think if other people in New Japan did stuff like that,
oh yeah, I mean,
they would catch so much fan hate. I can't think of anyone else except for perhaps Rocky Romero who could do it.
Even like Misu, he does some pretty dastardly things, but he's not a
Misu also doesn't punch people in the balls to steal championships.
But that's Misu. So I mean, that's like saying Piper or somebody, really. So
that's true. How great would it be, by the way, if Jericho ended up fighting him in his
Jericho versus Misu?
tenure in New Japan, however long it may last. I mean, they're building to Jericho versus Naito, obviously, from New Year's Dash. But, I mean, how long does Jericho plan on staying in New Japan?
I don't know.
What
it looks
does he
like
plan on doing?
He's going to do at least a good tour or so. And it may just be playing it by ear, I think he was there and he worked Kenny, which he wanted to do, and then he saw the show and he was like, I want to work Naito because Naito's one of the best in the world right now. From there,
Speaking of Kenny, this is my Bullet Club Kenny Omega shirt.
from there, he may want to work Okada. He may want to work Misu. He may want to work Tanahashi. Who knows? But this is an open door for him to really not just help out New Japan, but really inflate his repertoire of work.
Definitely, and expose people on both sides to each other.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee there's people who have only recently started coming around to New Japan because of Chris Jericho and vice versa. People who might be willing to take a second look at WWE because they saw the work that he did in New Japan and were reminded that, he is a quality professional wrestler.
Chris Jericho is kind of like an ambassador right now. Because he's supposed to be on the 25th anniversary of Raw, I believe, this coming Monday.
He himself is not confirmed, from what I understand.
Who knows? But if he is, he is in good relations with WWE, of course. This just kind of opens up a really good pathway for WWE and New Japan, and with WWE hiring so many Japanese stars right now. I can't help but think Triple H sees this as a perk, a bonus for open relationships down the road. And I would think New Japan would probably be a little open to it as well, considering, if WWE's will come in and storm
definitely
talent.
it could be very mutually beneficial. I honestly, and I know I've said this a billion times, but I think that New Japan's model for the Young Lions specifically is genius. And I respect it a whole lot because they invest so much time and effort and money into building their stars. And so I think they benefit greatly from branching out and going to Ring of Honor or CMLL or World of Sports.
Especially since they are partnering with Ring of Honor right now. WWE has to kind of see that and go, well, maybe they partner with NXT instead. Because some of these NXT guys that we don't see on TV every week would get a lot of exposure going to Japan and learning that style, so to speak. And
the strong style.
Just, being exposed to more wrestling, getting more ring time.
And also learning to work with different styles of wrestlers, different characters, personalities,
and not
stuff
just
like
different
that.
styles of wrestlers, but legends. New Japan keeps their veterans on the card for years and years. Manabu Nakanishi, Nagata. You have
Tenkozi, Tanahashi, even at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of exposure that they could get with that, and working with a variety of wrestlers and just being in the ring a lot.
Yeah.
Which they probably aren't getting with NXT, honestly.
And also there's only so many people that are in that rotation of being off television but working house shows.
Right.
So
and
it would benefit them to travel elsewhere, even if it's not specifically to New Japan, but to All Japan or Noah, or going over to the United Kingdom and learning a little bit more about British style. I think definitely it would help to build up their superstars in a way that they haven't really invested in doing.
You really consider using it like a...
rather than just getting lots of indie promotions.
Right. What's the Hawaiian guy's name that's in NXT?
Noah Kikoa.
If he hasn't been let go already.
It's like,
sending someone like that
still in
to
there
Japan,
as far as I know. And he would probably honestly get over really huge in Japan because they're very into Hawaiian culture.
He's a pretty good sized guy too.
And that's also why Jeff Cobb did so well.
Yeah.
Is because of the ties to Hawaii.
Yeah. So yeah.
Just a thought. Just something that...
it's something that if it pans out in the future, I think it would definitely benefit both companies.
Yeah, and benefit their talents and fans.
Like WCW used to do it, and like Austin and Anderson, and a couple others talk about it. I think Steve Austin actually got hurt on the tour in Japan, and I think that was the injury that led to him being fired from WCW actually. But they talk about like how grueling it was being on the tour buses back then and going. These were guys who were already veterans of the business.
Yeah.
And it was just their exchange program at the time. And
I mean, even a lot of people who we would consider to be legends, even in the WWE.
I mean,
Liger, who
Yeah.
has appeared even
Yeah.
as recently as NXT Takeover Brooklyn, the first one in 2014 or 15, I want to say.
yeah.
He's had a working relationship with promotions in the United States for literal decades.
Yeah. I mean, you could imagine, like, just until recently, they started using the Good Brothers again. You can imagine if WWE loaned them to New Japan for a tour or two, which usually a tour is like, what, 3 months? 2 months? They do a block.
Yeah, I think
and
it
then they're
depends
off for like
as
a month
to
or so, and then they do another
regionally
block.
where it ends up falling. Because I think of course the North American tours last so much longer, and then
Right.
they go to the United Kingdom that lasts maybe about a month or so, and then rest
So, I
of
mean,
Europe is
you can
another month
imagine
or stuff
if they're
like that.
not using somebody on the card and sending them to Japan, and Japan can be like, oh, there's this big WWE star. I mean, like the Good Brothers would be huge coming
Yeah,
back to Japan.
it would be a very nice homecoming. Nakamura would blow the roof
Yeah.
off the place.
Of course, they're not going to send bigger names that they're going to use all the time, but like Zack Ryder,
Yeah,
sending Zack Ryder to Japan, him being a part of Bullet Club,
or even
could reinvent his career here as well.
even someone who has had a lot of issues like Kenta or Hideo
Oh
Itami.
God, Kenta
Going-
would be huge.
Going back
go-
to Japan would reinvigorate his career in a way that I think is incredibly necessary right now,
Yeah.
considering all of the setbacks he's had with injuries and them calling into question the use of the GTS after it caved in Brian Kendrick's face.
Dude, that was. Dude, I don't know.
I mean, technically,
I mean,
that's what the GTS is supposed
yeah.
to do. It just did it a little too effectively.
Usually, like they get the hand up or they land on their feet before it hits. I mean, we've seen Punk do it millions of times.
Yeah.
We've seen Kenta do it millions of times, and I don't know if this was just a case of them not working together or them not being prepared. Like the guy who took the Styles Clash but tucked his chin. I mean,
And then, Ellsworth,
then they won't
Ellsworth
blame-
did that, and
yeah.
and Styles corrected it at the last second.
but I
That's
mean,
still one of the most terrifying things, and that is what really cemented my love of AJ
Joe's
Styles.
Muscle Buster.
Yeah, which he no longer is
Tyson
allowed
Kidd,
to use because it almost killed Tyson Kidd,
But
who's gone on record saying that he was the one that didn't physically prepare his body for it correctly,
Well,
even though he knew how he was supposed to take
Right.
it, and they'd done it before.
And I guess too, he had was suffering a lot of injuries at the time.
Oh, yeah,
Plus he was
he was-
working SmackDown, I think, and NXT,
And NXT.
like all the time.
Because he was singles on NXT, and then he was working with Cesaro.
And so dude was just kind of set up.
He
for
was
failure.
he was on the grind super hard back then,
and he was trying to make that name for himself. So
and I
props
I
to
respect
him.
it, but unfortunately,
But when you're suffering an injury, apparently he was already suffering some pretty bad injuries.
Yeah.
And it just exacerbated all that. Especially since the Muscle Buster pretty much isn't a high impact move for a body, really. I mean, it looks like it's going to be, but I guess the one that Joe got it from,
it's
the
in-
Mexican
yeah.
one where they actually jack you in half. Joe's just falls back.
Yeah,
so it's
so it's-
basically a bump to your butt.
I was gonna say it's basically like at worst a lower back bump.
Yeah, because I mean, he's actually protecting your neck and head and everything with his shoulder, and not saying
Not to say-
saying Joe is got massive shoulders, but
And not even to say
Joe's
that
a little pudgy like
that
me. and
Tyson Kidd
be like falling on a pillow.
is entirely to
Right, I'm not blaming
Blame.
Kid, but
it's just
It's
it
the
was an
nature of the
unfortunate
business,
situation for everyone involved, and it took away the
But-
Muscle Buster.
yeah, I mean,
Yet they brought
go
the
to
curb
sleep-
stomp back.
Right. And you saw Balor's face at the end. Like, I don't know if he like took it to look that way, or because Balor like really took that
Yeah, it was
heavy duty.
I have to admit, he sold it so well.
He did, like the whole finish of the show. Where
It
he
was absolutely
up and
beautiful.
down.
And I'm not a fan of Kobe Lopez, but that move looked beautiful. And
which they're apparently going to call the blackout now. Is what it sounded like.
I mean, it's better than calling Roman Reigns' drop kick on the apron a drive-by.
You know, what I loved, it was almost like a hint toward a possible heel run. You know, like after he did it, Rollins was just like, oh, "Did anybody see that?"
Like it was like, oh, I did the move I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, it was actually really.
But
interesting.
also at the same time, Jason Jordan was the one that got in the assist.
Yeah.
So
they're kind of like teasing several things there.
It's interesting. I personally believe that Rollins is a much better heel than a face.
I like him in both, honestly.
He's got such a good charisma for a heel.
The thing is, like when he turned face, there was not a machine behind him to push him as a major face.
Well,
they just stagnated him.
So it was unfortunate because almost the sole reason he turned face was because it was just sort of like Triple H screwed me.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to be a good guy to get back at you. And there wasn't.
Well, I mean, there was fan support behind it.
And there was also, they tried to weave in a sort of redemption story where he was like, you know, I was a shitty person. Mm-hmm. I betrayed my friends for what I thought was going to be beneficial, and it blew up in my face, and I was wrong to I put my trust in the wrong people.
If you remember, before they actually pulled the trigger on his face turn, and he returned and pedigreed Roman Reigns, the fans were like, "Thank you, Rollins."
Yeah, they exploded. So, I mean, I remember that because I remember I called it. I was like,
they could have made it huge. It had Rollins turn face the next night and Reigns turn heel, but
Roman Reigns isn't a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
He's just a steroid drug using guy.
Whoa! It's not proven in a court of law. And the guy didn't even say he sold specifically to Roman.
He did.
He didn't. He said that there was a person that he met with. He did not say that the transaction had been completed.
Okay.
Yeah, Roman it's a big thing over on Cage Side Seats is why. So they're like he doesn't specifically say he sold any.
If they investigate this and it does turn out that he did sell to Roman, that's strike 2. I just want to put that out there.
Except, okay, so this is where it's tricky because if he didn't pop on any drug tests, he could always be like, "I was buying it for a friend."
I would still think that would really disqualify him in some degree for some things. It doesn't help that I believe it was Jay that got DUI.
DUI, yes, he did. This is not a good time for the Unwanted family. It's not.
Dude.
It's not good. And The Rock missed a chance to rock bottom Triple H when he sang a song when he lip synced that song from Moana. Did you see that?
I saw the song. I didn't know The Rock was like. Was he contacted or
no? But I mean, I feel like that
would have been huge.
It should have been what happened.
I feel like if
The Rock should have just showed up and then just like rock bottom.
25th anniversary of Raw. That's
a gigantic missed opportunity.
Yeah. Huge.
What's interesting? So the thing that threw me off. So they had the 25, the Raw 25, the top 25 moments of Monday Night Raw, right?
Yeah.
And number 2. Did you see what number 2 was?
I didn't.
Number 2 was CM Punk's pipe bomb.
Oh.
The fact that they even acknowledge the persona non grata, I thought was interesting. I mean, it's kind of undeniable that would be in a place on there.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if it was fan vote or put
even
together.
If it was fan vote, you would think that they wouldn't include it. I mean, Punk has become such a icon.
he is
in the business,
and he's someone that brought a lot of people back to wrestling with that, because that became so huge it transcended outside of wrestling in general.
And this is a good thing for us to just ramble on here, because I mean, if we consider when Punk, he was really frustrated that the WWE was going in a particular direction, and he was frustrated as a wrestler himself that you have a guy who wants the ball, can carry the ball, can take the ball all the way for a touchdown, and he's not given that opportunity. And not just him, but other guys like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, the other person I remember he specifically mentioned, especially closer to the end of his WWE career, was Daniel Bryan.
And especially considering, like, there was a point where I believe Bryan had a title, Punk had a title, and Zack Ryder was IC champion. I think it was like the next night or something like that. And there was like a 6-man tag team or something or other. I don't know. It was before they like took the title off Ryder immediately. And I mean, it was a good time for fans. Like, oh, these are the guys we've been pulling for, but they just didn't go through with it. They for whatever reason they wanted to push the idea that, okay, well, they're against this machine, and it was like almost like art imitating life, I guess, in a way, like self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, yeah, Bryan can't overcome the machine because he's the underdog. When in reality, it was he can't overcome the machine because the people in charge really don't know what they're doing, and they want to dictate what wrestling is.
And it was very much, it reminded me of,
and we saw where it failed.
The Wyatt thing when Wyatt was against Reigns, and it was like anyone but you, and that was very it echoed very true as to how several different people in the company were being treated at that time.
Especially Wyatt, because you got a guy who, a lot of people don't like Bray, but he can go in the ring. He's exceptional on the microphone. He
cares so much about his character that he's willing to dedicate to it in a way that I think a lot of people would shy away from or be afraid to. And that's his dedication is what makes it. Yes.
Another huge thing. When you can get such a response from the fans, good or bad, it's a huge thing. You want that kind of response.
Because it means they care one way or another.
You want them to care. You don't want them to be indifferent. Roman Reigns.
Natalia. Also.
So I mean,
sorry about it.
There's this tradition in WWE, not a good thing, that when a superstar is on fire that they don't have plans for, they cool them off, and they've done it to Bray so much. He just loses to the point where now it's kind of irrelevant.
And now when they try to get a fire under him, it's hard to start because they've taken so much of the wind out of his sails.
When you have,
the feud with him and Balor.
It just really killed a lot.
And it really could have been a great feud, but because both of these guys at that point were just
this one with Hardy now, they're not giving it the airtime it deserves or the creativity it deserves. They just have them come out and laugh at each other. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Well, like, it was good for the first 2 times. Now we need to see them up the ante.
It's also because of the fact that I think they thought they had such an ace in the hole with the broken mat / woken mat now that they didn't really dedicate that much time to it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's just sort of, they're just being like, all right, you guys can figure it out. And then they give them,
you go out and laugh at each other.
I think they can work together and figure something out.
I think the match will be great.
But at the same time, if they're not given the airtime for it, what's the point?
And it's sad when that's not given the airtime, but Jason Jordan is in like 6 segments a night.
I love Jason Jordan. Okay,
I do too, but it's ridiculous at this stage.
Yeah, it's just
he doesn't deserve that much airtime.
Well, not only that, but it's not benefiting him or anyone else. It's not making him seem more like a threat or even more annoying or anything. It's not something that couldn't be accomplished in one simple segment rather than so many.
To get back to the hot cold, like they just want to cool people off. Kofi Kingston was super mega hot at one time, and they said, "Oh no, it's not your time, Kofi," and they cooled him off. And they just had him lose, and then they had nothing for him. And so, like in the fans' eyes, he really seems like, oh well, Kofi's a jobber now. And you either have fans that go who are not like smarks to the business, or like, oh well, Kofi sucks. And then you have the smarks go, oh, Kofi's a jobber. And then you have the management go, well, look, he's not even, he's not doing anything. Well, he's not doing anything because you
didn't
fighting,
give anything. Yeah.
Brooklyn Brawler every week or something. And like, how are you going
to... Did he actually get a fight with Brooklyn Brawler?
I don't think it was actually Brooklyn Brawler, but whoever
hysterical.
Was that at the time, what's he going to do if he's...
Damien Sandow.
If he's squashing every week. Don't get me started on Sandow. I mean...
He's another example.
You had a guy who was probably the most over guy in the company at one time.
Especially with the Mizdow thing.
Yeah, at least like in the top 3. And he was giving nothing every week. And... it was ridiculous. I even thought, like, when they had Axel being Axelmania and they put them together as the Mega Powers, huge.
That would have been great. Oh my god.
Then the thing with Hogan come up, they completely dropped it. It's like, Hogan's not even part of the company. What I thought they should have did, and this would have taken a little money, but it would have been well worth the payoff, is go back and put Curtis Axel's face on every image of Hulk Hogan. And so really build up this Axelmania thing like it has been going on for generations. So like, Axelmania slammed Andre. It was Axelmania versus Macho Man. It was Axelmania that fought Earthquake. And just put this out there.
Axelmania that turned and joined the NWO. Because the third man was Axelmania.
They would have built this parallel history to... kind of mock Hogan in a way.
It's funny, and they wouldn't have even had to have done it with every single thing. They
wouldn't
have
even had to do it with videos. They could just done pictures.
Yeah.
And blatant
Photoshop.
Yeah.
Just terrible Photoshop.
And I mean, it would have been huge.
Like actually print out pictures of Curtis Axel and then of the moment, and then cut them out and glue them. Elmer's glue them.
It would have been awesome.
Elmer's glitter glue them.
So I mean, to even get a better understanding of this, I mean, listen to anything Al Snow now. Bitter, angry Al Snow, who is just being honest, about wrestling. He loves wrestling.
It's such a shame, too.
He loves wrestling, and he loves the aspect of getting in the ring with wrestling. He loves figuring it out and playing with things. But he knows how the business works, and he knows what WWE does wrong, and all this stuff. So I think Al Snow is just he's super smart when it comes to this, and he was with WWE for a long time, and he bought into it.
He cares. He cares so much, also, and he's so dedicated to whatever he's playing.
He was on the Austin podcast, I think, last week.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't listened to the whole thing, but it's a good listen.
I feel like Al Snow has his own show, also, doesn't he?
He might. I'm not sure. I know he has his own wrestling school, so he might have his own show. I don't. He did say that he's like been contracted to work with companies in like Malaysia or Indonesia or something like that.
Like
they're starting a wrestling place up, and he's going over and basically training these guys every so often and teaching them things and getting them set up. I'm like, well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about, really. I mean, he even gets it's almost like philosophy when you get down to like the dynamics of wrestling. But it is something that WWE is missing now. And it shows, like, it shows so bad.
Which is such a shame, because I mean, this is to so many people.
WWE's the trendsetter.
The top,
right.
or the biggest brass ring you could reach for.
And that's why I'm critical of WWE more so than, say, like TNA or ROH or New Japan or whoever.
Chikara.
Chikara. I mean, it's its own specific little. But I mean, WWE is a global company who, is. Has.
That's where I want to wrestle. If anyone in Chikara is watching, sign me, please. I'll take bumps for years.
WWE has a kuleana. There's our wrestling word for or Hawaiian word for the day.
And that
To-
means
to-
responsibility.
Yeah. And it's a privilege and a responsibility
is.
that they, continue the tradition of wrestling, but at the same time they have to do it right. And when that's what was so great. Like, go back to Balor taking the curb stomp and then selling it so much at the end.
Selling the shit out of it. I mean, it was I
And it's like Al Snow would say,
it was
like,
beautiful.
the sell isn't just selling a move, but it's selling the fact that you could lose the match.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He sold that he lost
Well,
the match.
there has to be that actual fear every time you take any sort of move, and that desperation that is exhibited from both people.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to win this match,
It was a great-
regardless of if you already know what it's going to be or not, or if they're going to call an audible in the ring, or it depends
It
on
was a
what
great
promotion, what
finish.
company.
Just
but
because of that, the way he sold it. I mean, if he had just gotten up at the end and been like, "Hey, Jason Jordan pulled my leg," but he didn't. He got up. He was totally out of it. He was confused. He was going back down to his knee like he'd just been,
hit hard.
He'd just been curb stomped. And so, I mean, it made the match. It made the move. And, I mean, that's what you kind of have to do. Otherwise, it's, I can't remember what match it was. I saw somebody take a finisher, and then, like, 10 seconds later, they got up, and it's like, dude, that's supposed to be, like, a major finish. Like, you just made yourself look like
No selling.
a badass, really.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Harper no selling Dolph Ziggler super kick is still one of my favorite things ever.
Well, I mean, no
'Cause
selling has its place.
I cry laughed as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh my god, he no sold. Luke Harper is a badass.
I mean, no selling has its place.
Yeah.
I mean,
look
the
at
Road Warriors would not have been the Road Warriors if they didn't no sell. But like, they were no selling. They were no selling in real life,
or
too.
even Braun Strowman also.
Yeah, Strowman.
The
But it's gotta be
monster among
believable.
men.
Goldberg, who, I watched Goldberg from his first match all the way through. And that's his first match where he lost, and like, that they never like pushed that this was part of it.
about.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, this is this big Bill Goldberg guy. They never talked him up, and he just got like beat up. And it was like his tryout, really, to see how he would do. But then, like, when they were pushing him,
Then
they
he
were
became
like, the football
Goldberg.
player, Bill Goldberg, blah blah blah. And it was rough, But he went out there and he was, it wasn't like no selling like the Road Warriors, but it was like this.
He could take the
tough-
hit. He was tough.
It was a tough guy kind of no sell, and he would shake it off and kind of like Braun Strowman, we see him do a lot. So
Man, can you imagine Goldberg versus Strowman?
like at their prime, like Strowman now and Goldberg in his prime,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. One of my favorites.
Cost levels off the charts.
One of my favorites was Goldberg versus Ming. When Ming was like the monster in WCW, and they just, God, Ming could have been champion. It would have been believable, and
Instead,
it was
he just started a
crazy
dynasty.
match. Yeah, right. It was a crazy match just because Goldberg won, but Jesus, he had to earn that one. Yeah.
I mean, he don't fuck around. You know what I mean?
Right. And then it was the time where Ming, I think it was the NWO come out, and Ming turned face and was like beating the shit out of the NWO.
God, he's so great.
He is.
He makes appearances, with them.
Yeah.
It's great. He showed up at the LA show, or not the LA, the Long Beach show they had last year.
I hope he like tongue and death grip somebody. Which apparently they've said that he actually did in real life to people at the bars sometimes.
Amazing.
Like before he was actually doing it in the ring, he was doing it in real life. That's great. I love Ming stories. One of my favorite clips. This is rambling. This is really rambling. One of my favorite clips was like Attitude Era, right after they bought WCW, and Ming came over and he was teaming up with Rikishi for like just like a hot minute, and Triple H, right? Triple H was like trying to get Rikishi to do something, and this was after like Rikishi had turned on The Rock and everything at that time, and Rikishi was like, "No, dude, I can't do that." And Triple H was kind of going to start threatening him, and Triple H stands up, and I think he had like his sledgehammer, and then like the door opens up and Ming walks out, and Triple H is like, hey Haku, what's up? I was just leaving.
Like I said, he don't ground.
Like, hey, bro.
I'm a big fan of him. And a big fan of his family.
Yes, all 3 of them. Sons now. 4 sons?
Oh,
3 sons.
yes,
and a cousin.
but I thought you were talking about all together.
Including Fale.
No, I thought you were including Haku.
Oh no.
I was like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I really like all that family, for the most part. Reigns is, I would do him differently, but I think Roman's come a long way.
Yeah.
And if you know,
I mean, we'll see if he retains
if Roman
on Monday.
really is like juicing or whatever. I mean,
what a waste, honestly.
I feel like if he is, like, he probably feels like he has to, because he's not like rock.
You know, I agree.
And everything.
I agree that it's probably more out of a feeling of necessity, but I mean, such a waste then, because there's always that risk of
Shrinking his penis.
Not only that, but I mean, if you get caught and he is a pretty well known face of WWE.
Yeah.
That it would drag him down.
Yeah.
And they would have to do something.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we see, like, Orton has weaseled his way out of these sorts of things before.
By going to rehab.
So, I mean, it's not like a career killer. And I don't think it should be, honestly, because, I mean, wrestling it's not a real sport. But, real athletes.
Yeah, I mean they are very their job is very physically demanding,
right.
With what they are required to do.
But being as such,
almost every day,
that they don't have really downtime, the body does wear out, and that is a reason why they need steroids for that aspect.
Or other performing enhancements,
not
such
that
as
I'm condoning. What's the thing? I do not condone, but I don't approve, or whatever.
You're not condoning it, but at the same time, you understand the necessity for some people,
right?
Especially like how we were talking about earlier. So much of the WWE current roster is walk-in wounded. Kevin Owens has been off of house shows for, I think, most of this month.
Yeah, so he can work Rumble.
Just so he can work Rumble. Sheamus has been dealing with spinal stenosis,
which is crazy.
That he's still in a ring.
Yeah. He's working the main
shows.
shows.
Very limited also, and most of the bumps have been going to Cesaro.
Mm-hmm. And Samoa Joe's out till March now. He's going to actually miss Rumble, which was such a shame, because it looked like Joe was going to get a pretty good push.
He was going to start a feud with Cena that was apparently in the plans.
Maybe for WrestleMania we'll see Cena versus Joe. I don't know, because there's rumor of Cena versus Mahal, but who knows?
Cena versus Undertaker.
But Joe won't be back till March, which would be enough time, maybe.
It would be barely enough time.
But since it's Joe, you really don't need that much build. Joe's been built up pretty well now. I mean, he's established himself, and Joe won't come out and one show you've got your build.
Yeah.
For that match.
And then there's who else is injured? Dean Ambrose is out till after Mania.
Out.
Big Cass is still out.
Oh, Big Cass.
And I was looking at it because I thought
apparently single.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
apparently him and Carmella broke up. She broke up with Big Cass or something. And I guess they just got a house together too. Like, she made some kind of tweet like the Total Divas is just catching up, like where they're moving in together, but I guess she already booted him to the road, or who knows what happened. I mean, she's been on the road and he's been home rehabbing, right?
That's brutal.
Can't teach.
Oof. But I'm trying to think who else is injured. Jason Jordan.
Yeah, he's injured.
Has
at the moment.
Knee injury, I think.
Yeah.
Said Dirty Dean. I mean, Paige just recently got re-injured.
Paige is done.
And it's looking like she's probably done.
From everything it sounds like she's
in the
done.
WWE at the very least.
Have you seen that video?
I did. And I
It's
feel
brutal
really,
to watch.
I feel really bad though because it doesn't. She's taken a similar bump before.
Right.
After coming back. Before. So it's weird because
I have mixed emotions on it. I'm not the biggest Paige fan, but that bump it looked really vicious. Like whenever your back is to someone, and I know it was a house show and everything, and it was just supposed to be like a kick to the back.
Which it must have been honestly terrifying.
Yeah.
To be in the ring then,
Both
regardless.
of them,
yeah.
you know.
Or every single person. This it was during a tag match too, because then.
A 6-person tag.
Yeah, it was Absolution versus Mickie James, Sasha Banks, and Bayley.
And I mean, I feel bad for Sasha because like she kind of has to live with this. I ended the wrestler's career,
and a lot of people have taken to blaming Sasha for it.
Or she hasn't done herself any favors with building up to this. That she, kind of irked a lot of people, a lot of fans. I guess they're not really blaming her backstage.
Yeah,
which
backstage,
is good for her.
She's not catching any heat over it. Mostly because it's been shown that it was probably a freak accident. Because Paige has taken that bump recently from Bayley even. And
I don't know if it's a case of being too close, too far.
But it's also
a misjudgment.
an example of a split second of being off in professional wrestling can really do some serious damage. The whole draws thing.
Your life is in the other person's hands.
Yeah.
And essentially, I mean, the trust level to really turn your back on someone, knowing that they're going to kick you with both feet, big mule kick, and you're going to take this face plant. And when she did it, like you could see, like the impact just really knocked her out. And when she tried to get
her
up,
poor neck,
her limbs were just she had no control.
Yeah.
And she was like flailing.
She took a bad stinger.
Yeah, she was flailing, just trying to get to Sasha, and she stood up and she fell down, and she stood up, and her legs were just all over the place. And I think it was at that point.
It's really heart wrenching.
They all just kind of like.
They were just like, "Oh shit!"
The referee threw it up, and it was like, "Oh," I watched it and I didn't pay too much attention to it, and then I went back and watched it when I read that it was probably career done.
Yeah.
And wow, for someone who had so much potential
and returned to so much fanfare,
but also really wasted the last year of her career in a lot of ways. Like she wasn't clear to come back, but she also wasn't trying to come back because the Del Rio thing and all that craziness.
And Del Rio has been kind of scummy about the whole thing also recently. He was just like, I said some bad stuff about the WWE, but I was led to believe while I was in this relationship that they were to blame for X, Y, and Z. And it's sort of like...
we can't really say on that. I mean...
Even if that's true, what a tactless time to bring it up.
And I mean, I know it's... Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
You're
so
a
many ways you can
grown-ass
play
man.
off of it.
That's all I'm gonna
Maybe
say.
he's just, I don't know if he's face or heel now or whatever.
I know. I was over on Cage Side Seats and someone was like, haha, this is amazing. And I was like, what if Heat Magnet? What if this is his way of getting X-Pac heat? What if this is it?
I used to think about that.
I really can't tell.
Like, everybody hated Vicky Guerrero. And like, she was the heel authority figure. And she would come out and she would do this and people would be like, oh, she can't. Everybody's like, she's awful. I hate Vicky. She don't know how to act and this and that. And me and my friend John were like, what if she's just playing everybody? She grew...
And she is!
Yeah. She was married to Eddie Guerrero, the Guerrero family. And it's like, she knows how to get this heat.
Yeah.
And that's what she's supposed to do. And she got mega heat.
Yeah.
From the fans.
Genius.
And it's
it was
like...
great. I like Vicky
genius.
Guerrero so much. And it's funny because I when I was first starting to get back into wrestling, I watched this documentary on Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in it. She's featured, of course, prominently because she's his widow.
Right.
And she's so sweet and sincere through the whole thing and just genuinely wistful. And you see how much she really loved Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so different from her in-ring persona that was when it clicked to me. I was like, This is all
We've
an
been
act.
played.
We've been played.
And it was genius.
And then that was when, I stopped giving heat. Sorry, Vicky.
Yeah.
But that was when I just, like, loved her. Because I was
Yeah.
like, this is what she's willing to do for the company that gave her husband so much. And that he gave so much, too.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I shed a tear. And I was like, this is beautiful.
So, I mean, yeah. I don't know. Sucks, I hate to say it like that, but, sucks for Paige.
It
but,
does. It's really unfortunate.
she has had a good career, though. So,
For-
you have to look at that highlight
I mean,
of it.
she's
Just like Edge. Like, they
been-
say, like, Edge was really looking down on himself and everything because career was over. But then, like, Christian was like, dude, why are you down?
Look at all the things that
You were going
you've done.
out on top.
Yeah.
Like, you could not ask for a better way to go out. Your last match was at WrestleMania, which you won.
Yeah, it's like
You're
you
the
didn't go out on your back.
You're the world champion, and you're going to go out undefeated as champion. And how could you ask for anything more?
It really sort of depends
like-
as to how you see it. Because then there are people
Yeah.
who are super old school that want to go out on their back, as they say.
Terry Funk,
Terry Funk,
who's gone out on his back like 60 times.
who's gonna go out on his back. Oh my God,
Who,
I'm
like,
getting
I
a
think
call.
recently came back out of retirement.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, yeah. In other news, TNA, Impact, wherever they're calling themselves now, new world champion, spoiler alert,
That's
Austin
right.
Aries.
Yeah.
Hoping that the company is really, it does look like they're really turning themselves around. They fired a lot of prominent people in the office position.
And they recently let go of several
Huge amount.
very large talents, including EC3
who has rights to the name, EC3. He was,
and also Bobby Lashley
Bobby
and
Lashley.
Laurel Van Ness.
He was Derek Bateman
Yes.
in NXT, but I think it's very possible we may could see EC3 just show up on the main roster even. I mean, he's kind of...
It's been teased that he might be a surprise at Rumble.
Yeah, it'd be great. Lashley could be, apparently, if
And with
they
how
get
their
permission
contracts
from
work,
Impact.
actually, they can go somewhere else and start working immediately.
He
There
has
is
a
no
yeah,
there is
have a no
there is
compete clause.
I was going to say there is
It's
no
huge.
complete clause. No
Like,
compete clause. There we go. I can't speak words. What
Oh
am I
my
doing?
god. Yeah, so I mean, it really would, like, I guess you would have to go, okay, well, would anybody know this guy? Does it matter at this stage? He's a good worker. He's a really good worker. If they keep that,
And I mean,
gimmick,
honestly, what a great chance for them to start fresh.
yeah.
Even
I
if
mean,
they
there's-
don't feel like there's enough tied to his name,
Mm-hmm.
then they can totally go out there and have him be the biggest jerk heel that they possibly can.
Well, I mean, they got two possibilities. They can keep the EC3 thing and be like, hey, you drove my aunt out of business, and do that gimmick. Or they could have him come in and he could be a McMahon. He could be Kurt Angle's son. The real Kurt Angle's son. A
Interesting.
lot of people were like, when they saw Dixie Carter in the Angle video, the documentary, they were like, for sure that Dixie Carter was going to be the mom to Angle's illegitimate son. And, yeah, I don't know. Who knows what they'll do with it.
There's a
But
lot
good
going
for
on.
him. Good for
Yeah,
EC3.
and good for Bobby Lashley too. I hear
I
that.
have high hopes for Lashley.
Well, I hear also that New Japan might be interested
That would be a good one as well.
bringing him in.
And
And Laurel Van Ness, who also is known as Chelsea Green, has
that's Ryder's girlfriend, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
Zack Ryder's current girlfriend. She has had some screen time, most notably as the personal trainer that said she was having an affair with Daniel Bryan.
She,
But she did
I-
some pretty good work as the Knockouts champ
yeah, I
in
enjoyed her
TNA.
in TNA. You know, she did a lot of really
the
good
crazy Laurel Van
work,
Ness. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good people to sign. I think it's imminent that they sign with WWE in some form. Lashley, man, I would love to write that, because where Brock is such a limited hand to use, Lashley could pretty much be full time.
Yeah.
And what better way to do that? I mean, to use Brock and Lashley, I would put them in a tag team and just have them dominate. And you still have a representative with Lashley and Heyman, even if Brock's not there.
Yeah.
And then build to a moment where Lashley and Lesnar implode, build to that match. You can really pass the torch to Lashley, keep Heyman.
Which would be nice. Because
Heyman
then you
and
would...
Lashley, and then you'd have that element to work with.
But then you'd also always have a way back in for Lesnar.
For Lesnar, yeah.
And a tangible way. A storyline involved way, always, with Lashley being part of...
Lashley and Strowman. Lashley Goldberg at, the next Mania. Who knows what you could build to. Lashley Reigns, Lashley, I mean, there's a lot of stuff they could do there.
Lashley Styles.
Lashley Styles, yeah. So, I mean, there's area there. I don't know what they'll do. I think Lashley would just go straight to the main roster because he's been there before.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have heard rumor. Let's talk Royal Rumble for a bit. I've heard rumor, and I don't know how they
let's not get too carried away because this video is almost out.
All right,
an hour already.
You want to just go to...
So one thing, Royal Rumble will be a different video.
Different video.
But
okay.
One thing that I wanna discuss are the new signees, the new class of signees.
They did sign a couple
They
people.
signed, of course, War Machine, which has been rumored for quite some time, as well as Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
And they also made a really big acquisition in terms of female talent with Candice LeRae, who is, of course, the wife of Johnny Gargano, longtime tag team partner of Joey Jericho.
I would totally bring him as Joey Jericho.
I know, that was
Jericho's little brother.
That's what you've been saying for years now, but of Joey Ryan. And they had a really nice match to end her indie career, where it was Joey versus Candice, in which Candice, of course, won.
Right.
And Joey Ryan gave this really cool speech about
I
how...
saw the speech.
Oh man,
really sweet,
I teared up.
Right.
It was really nice because basically he was saying, he was at a point in his wrestling career where he felt like a lot of things weren't going his way, and he was really struggling to figure out where he was going to go and if he was going to continue. And then he started World's Cutest Tag Team with Candice, and that really took off, and it really reminded him of why he liked wrestling. And it was really beautiful. And he ended it with, I don't watch much wrestling these days, much less WWE, but I will watch every single time you
let me just say
are on
this.
WWE television.
WWE should totally get Joey Ryan.
He is a YouPorn sponsored wrestler.
Dude,
I don't think that they would cross
could
that line.
Totally work around that. Sorry, sponsorship's off. He's a good talent.
Oh, he's excellent. I love Joey Ryan.
He's great on the mic.
I mean, reunite World's Cutest Tag Team. That shit should go on forever, frankly. Have them feud with people.
Honestly,
I mean, they started doing the mixed tag challenge.
You need personalities for 205. Joe Ryan's 210. It would not be that far-fetched
to have him cut 5 pounds.
You don't need to cut 5 pounds.
To have him cut 5 pounds.
Everything anyway. He's 205. That's all you gotta say. He's 205. He's got a big personality. Having him on 205 Live would be a huge asset. I mean, they got to start building 205. It needs more than Enzo
and Kenta and Ricochet.
I feel like Ricochet's going to have to go there. Surely they'll do that.
I'm just tearing up thinking about Ricochet going
there. Let me just say that
the graveyard.
I think NXT is worse for par with Kenta, with Hideo Itami. I think they ruined what he understood about wrestling. Or maybe he's going too much off of what the producers are telling him. A producer is someone who
definitely
puts the matches together.
They're restricting him a whole lot.
Well, I mean, just to see him come out and he's supposed to be a face and he's doing heel tactics and...
I don't think he's supposed to be a face.
You know,
I think he's supposed to be like...
You have him come out
like
and
the
save...
Stone Cold of...
Who did he save?
Balor.
Yeah, he saved Balor, and then the next match
I think he's supposed to be like the Stone Cold of 205. He's supposed to be like the anti-hero badass.
Well, they're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean...
Tell me about it.
I mean, you don't... A face isn't going to come out and start screaming, "Respect me!" in the match.
But wouldn't that be great?
It doesn't quite work that way. This is one of those points where, like, Al Snow talks about WWE having its head up its ass. You know, that's not how you... Kenta going out and just wrestling a match is going to get over on his own. Just because of his style and everything. You don't really need to go much further than, like, it's like, dare I, like, bring this name up? It's like Chris Benoit. You didn't need Benoit to talk to get over with the crowd. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Anyway, our video is super long. We've ranted about a lot of things. This is Midcard Mana'o signing off.